The Ten Commandments. Our readings from Exodus and Deuteronomy concern the Ten Commandments. In the narrative given in Exodus, after Moses leads the people out of Egypt, they wander in the desert on their way to the Promised Land. Along the way, Moses meets with his father-in-law, Jethro, priest of Midian, who observes that Moses serves as a kind of oracle and common law judge when the people have disputes. Jethro advises Moses to appoint lower judges to handle some of the caseload, which Moses arranges. Other than direct divination, it's unclear at this point what sort of common law Moses and his judges applied. But on the first day of the third month after leaving Egypt, at the foot of Mount Sinai, Moses receives a summons from God, who tells Moses to prepare the people for a divine visitation. The visitation occurs on the morning of the third day of the month, accompanied by terrifying thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast, along with smoke, fire, and earthquake. This kind of event is called by biblical scholars and theologians a theophany. Only Moses and his brother Aaron are permitted to meet with God on the mountaintop. God then verbally announces the commandments. The text is unclear whether God's speech is broadcast to the entire people or delivered to Moses and Aaron as reporters for the people. Exodus 21 to 23 includes numerous additional laws beyond the Ten Commandments with which Moses was to instruct the people, including laws relating to personal injuries, property, servants, money lending, and a variety of other matters. Deuteronomy 5 offers another account of the Decalogue. The Deuteronomic narrative pictures Moses instructing the people after 40 years of wandering in the desert at the threshold of the Promised Land. Moses recounts the theophany at the mountain and recites the commands he received from God. The commands in Deuteronomy 5 are similar to those in Exodus, but differ in some respects that appear to reflect a different social setting. Whatever history and textual tradition might lie behind these narratives, by the Second Temple period, the Decalogue came to occupy a central place in Jewish liturgy. Along with the Shema, the Decalogue served as a marker of ethical identity that bound the Jewish people to God. The Decalogue was also centrally important for later Christian theologians writing about ethics, law, and political society, though Christian interpreters sometimes struggled to articulate how this central component of Judaism translated into different Christian contexts. And of course, even today, the Decalogue shows up in the culture wars, with arguments about whether they can or should be posted in public places, such as courthouses and school classrooms. The Decalogue is, of course, a series of divine commands. Notice, however, that they are situated in the narrative context of God's deliverance of Israel from slavery in Egypt. In other words, they're commands that are already implicit in God's covenant relationship with his people and that relate to the promised flourishing of that people. Notice also that the first three commands, depending on how you number them, focus on the identity and worship of God. It's fair to say that all the commands are an outgrowth of the first command, which establishes that God alone is God. In Jewish practice from antiquity to the present, this is reflected in the recitation of the Shema, a prayer drawn from Deuteronomy 6 and 11 and Numbers 15, which begins, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The fourth command, to remember the Sabbath day, reflects God's rest from his creative activity and further underlines the dignity of human beings who are made for more than work. After the fourth command, the Decalogue pivots from worship to social relationships, covering family, marriage, judicial-type proceedings, and the protection of life and property. Notice both similarities and differences between this part of the Decalogue and the other ancient Near Eastern law codes we've read. The prohibition on murder is not the first command, but it occupies a central place on the list. Family relationships and property must be respected, and witnesses must be truthful. Unlike the Mesopotamian law codes, the Decalogue does not seem to embed a strict class hierarchy as we saw with the Awilu class in Hammurabi's code. However, some of the laws refer to the neighbor, which raises questions about social relationships, and the prohibition on coveting mentions male and female slaves.